seated because I can't
That's-
like, are you trying to favor?
We have.
It's all good.
Good afternoon. I hereby call this agenda review meeting of Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum is present and notice of this meeting was posted as required by Texas Open Meeting Act. All members are here with the exception of Reverend Irvin. I believe he probably would be late. Today, all items on the agenda are for discussions only. No voting will take place at this meeting. Thank you for joining us today, and I ask to please turn your cell phones to the silent mode. At this portion of meeting, we have public comment, and fortunately or unfortunately, we do not have any comment. However, if anyone would like to make a comment in the future meeting, instruction on how to sign up are posted on the meeting notice. Before delay, we go to consent agenda. This portion of meeting, we will discuss the items on the agenda, consent agenda. No action will be taken place at this meeting. We start board meeting minutes. Board, any comments, any questions?
I wanted to say something about the minutes. Dr. Trujillo's superintendent comments were very well put. They're very extensive, and they also stress the importance of recognition for Dr. Salceda and her statewide recognition as the best bilingual educator in the state. And so I think that's really good, and people that are watching this can look that up online and actually see it written in our minutes. So they can always find the comments from Dr. Trujillo in there every time from our, not this meeting, but the Thursday meetings. So I think that's something that will help our public to get just directly to what they want to hear and see.
I echo that and thank Dr. Trujillo for doing that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next item is business office report. Ms. Lisa Barbrick.
Good afternoon, President Neriman, board members, Dr. Trujillo. I would like to begin with our budget amendments, and we are beginning a new year. So the first budget amendment is pulling funds from fund balance for ongoing capital improvement projects. This is an annual activity that we have to do since we have a June 30th year end. We have projects that are span both years, so this is what this is. And I am requesting $1,672,717 to continue all of our ongoing capital projects. And there you'll see all the detail of the different projects that I'm pulling from. So rather than going through each one individually, if you have a question on one of those, I'll be glad to answer that for Budget Amendment A.
I don't have any question. However, I'd like to ask Dr. Trujillo to give us some update on the stadium process.
Sure. Let me make sure that this is, what I'll do is I can get a report to the board, since it's not actually an item listed in here.
Yes.
Other than the stadium lights that we did have, those have been completely done. The turf is ongoing. Matter of fact, the shift is we will be working, the company will start working in the evening. All you have to do is walk outside and you'll know why they're going to start working in the evenings. So to the community, you'll start noticing the brand new pointing stadium lights that we had to adjust because of the weather. They will have them on. So the community that's in that area, they will know that the stadium lights will be on. They will be working into the evening to do now the fine work that they have to do with regards to the stadium itself. You also see the work that's been done with regards to the field house. It's complete. It looks beautiful, what the setup they have there. And the asphalt as well. The parking lot work is progressing. And matter of fact, they're striping it. hopefully striping it for bigger vehicles than just a compact vehicle, so that Mr. Tarver can park his truck out there, and other parents that have big vehicles as well. So it's progressing, it's looking well, and we don't have access yet out there because of the work that's being done, but our coaches, our fine arts, they're working really well and diligently with their parents and with our families to let them know what arrangements need to be made. So if any question out there regarding any of the fine arts or any of the athletics and the training and the practices, I point them to their coaches and to their band directors and their fine art directors, because the work is progressing. It's on target from what I'm understanding. And but also note, some of the work was done outside, the long jump, the pole vault lane, all of that is progressing. McMichael is also progressing. That was a little bit more work that needed to be done. So we're excited about what is progressing out at McMichael as well with their track. So any other questions that the board may
Dr.
have?
Trujillo, I had a question, just
Yes.
in regards to the flood cleanup. Was the damage extensive, or were they able to salvage a lot of stuff? or-
No, the turf itself was not.
No, I'm speaking about the DSC,
the-
the district's support center.
Oh, that was pretty extensive. It depends on your real estate.
Okay.
Dr. Hill, on her side of the building, I don't even know if Dr. Hill had any water other than the glass of water she was drinking on her desk. The rest of us, we were swimming. And the extent of damage that there, it's been repaired. Ralph and his team did a tremendous job. Surf Pro did a tremendous job. They've been taking care of us really well. And actually, Ralph has done some additional work with his staff to help us prevent it. Some of the things that we can do, some cosmetic things, for instance, the walkway on one end of the building, they've put a pretty good-sized trench between a sidewalk so that water flow can continue to flow out. However, these are things that we're going to have to plan in the future as to what this may need to do, because it is lower from the hospital district and up on the top of the hill, so the water will continue to flow. So we're knocking on wood. We need water, we need rain, but we don't need what we've
What we've gotten.
that we've had in the past where Noah's Ark needed to be built for us to make it. So, but DSC is doing well. The
Good.
band hall, my understanding is we're on the tail end of getting that repair completely done. So that's why I appreciate our band parents being very patient with us, because we don't have the stadium, we don't have the parking lot, and we don't have the band hall. But we have band practice that needs to be coming up. So we're working closely to figure out how we can meet all that. So I will tell you, on my one last note is, Ralph has had so many plates spinning, and the wonderful thing is that he relies on a great team of people around him that help him keep the plates spinning. But I will also say, he drives his truck around and sees it firsthand. He's not hearing it secondhand. His truck is actually out there driving around, looking, following, progressing, keeping Mr. Martin and up to date with what is going on. So tremendous work. Publicly, Ralph, I want to say thank you for the work that you've done this summer to make sure that we can get ready for school. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Item B is for an old priority or wish list items that were granted in 1920, and because of the heavy bond construction season, we're doing these things slowly, so I'm continuing to pull these funds out so that we can do these projects. This is actually lower than it was last year because a little bit of some of the blinds got done, but it is for TJR intercom upgrade, gym seat replacements, and blinds at various campuses, $49,470. Item C, pull funds from fund balance to pay for the buses ordered in 22-23 but arriving in 23-24, $1,050,950. Item D is to pull funds from fund balance for unused vehicle replacements budgeted in 22-23, $261,242. Again, we're still struggling to find our vehicles, and so we're buying them piecemeal as we find them. And next month, I will be bringing you the new round for this year's replacements. Item E, pull funds from fund balance to continue purchasing band instruments that were damaged in the flood, $40,240. Again, these are all items that were budgeted last year that we have not finished. Item F, pull funds from fund balance for generators ordered for transportation in 21-22. They are still on back order, $301,984. Item G, pull funds from fund balance that were budgeted in prior year with ESSER savings for generators. These are portable generators that can be used in wherever we move them to, $50,000. Item H, pull funds from fund balance for ongoing purchase of plant services equipment. Again, this was budgeted in prior year. Some of the equipment that we budgeted last year has been purchased, but this is the remainder. And the final budget amendment, budget donations for convocation, $750 to revenue and as well as to the expense.
I have a question. The plant management and operations, is that going to be for paving the lot out there?
No, no, this is
That's
for
something else?
equipment.
Okay, equipment, okay.
Any other questions on budget amendments?
No, ma'am.
All right. Next, I would like to move on to our donations under $2,500. You'll find that on page 22 and 23. This is the donation referenced in the budget amendments. We received $250 from Austin Bank and $500 from Southside Bank going towards convocation.
That's greatly appreciated.
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
And it's scary because convocation's coming up soon.
Yes. Next is the investment report, which you'll find on page 25. And this past month, we earned, between all our investments, we earned $200,027.35. We continue to do well in those. And if I will entertain any questions you have on any of the other reports that I have.
No, ma'am. Okay. Board, do you have any questions, any comments? Okay. Mr. Martin, are you ready? Purchase of over $25,000.
Thank you, President Miramon, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. Purchases over $25,000, Learning.com. The Texas Adoption Bundle for Learning.com is a digital literacy instructional resource for K through 12 or K through 8 students. Learning.com includes text-aligned activities for computer fundamentals, keyboarding, online safety, digital citizenship, internet usage, online communication, visual mapping, multimedia, word processing, presentations, databases, and coding. Administration is requesting that the board approve the purchase of Learning.com for the amount of $32,801.50. Be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
These funds, where do they come from?
These funds come from IMA, Instructional Material Allotment.
Thank you.
I kind of hate to ask this because it's going to show my ignorance, but and I noticed we had this same purchase last year. So is this like a subscription because this is all on our computers, right?
Yes,
In
ma'am.
our computer?
Mhm.
So in order to access
Access.
all these wonderful resources, we have to subscribe yearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great,
That's correct.
thanks.
Mhm.
One other question, is this a resource that students use at home also, or is it only accessed at school?
They can access it at home as well.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay. Mr. Martin, next is Dr. Canvas.
Thank you, President Nurman. Canvas is a cloud-based learning management platform that will allow schools to build digital lessons for students to use at home and at school. It delivers and manages instructional content, identifies and assesses learning targets, tracks progress toward meeting those targets, and collects data analytics for supervising and the learning process for students. After careful review, Canvas was the management learning system chosen by the Committee of Teachers for grades 3 through 12. We'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have about Canvas.
Those are new programs. During my time over there, it was not existed. So however, if there's a questions, detailed question, who is responding to those questions if students have?
I'm going to refer that to Dr. Hill.
Normally, it's either Ms. Morris, but more importantly, the digital specialist that we have, the digital learning specialist. They routinely train on this. So this is Instructure. We've used it since COVID. It's that platform at the lower levels. We
Right.
use something called Seesaw. So digital learning specialist.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
President Fashid, one of the things, if I may, by doing something like this, it takes us away from, I don't know if you recall, about 3 years ago, whenever we had the unfortunate situation where we lost access to our data through a cyber attack that had occurred. Some of the teachers were utilizing Google, and if they were using a site like Google to keep the documents, it was fairly safe because it was outside the network. However, those that were using something within the network, it was very inconsistent with the support where they were keeping their instructional design. The other thing is reaching out to our kids out in the community. We asked the question a while ago, Ms. Pitcock, do they have access to this at home? They have access to this at home. Parents would be able to also get the information. Canvas is just one tool. The commissioner and Texas Education Agency were promoting Schoology. But we did a lot of research with this, and some of our higher learning institutions use Canvas. It is a little frustrating. The learning curve is there. However, as our kids become familiar and move on to college, there's Blackboard, there's all kinds of other things that they're going to have to become familiar with, and this allows us to prepare our kids for life beyond the high school when they get it to university. So Canvas is a great platform, but with it comes a learning curve. But we have a great team with Ms. Morris and her team that's there. We also have some expert teachers that are out there that we will always take advantage of, as they know the tips and tricks of the trade and when they're navigating something like Canvas. So we're excited that this was one of the outcomes that would revolutionize what we do in the classroom. Canvas is definitely one of those things. So,
Thank you. Mr. Martin, again, Absolute Technology.
Thank you, President Nurman. Board, if I may direct your attention to page 68 in your board book. Administration proposes to purchase Absolute Technology Unlimited to support, to provide network and server administration as well as escalation path for other technical issues. The budget impact would be $234,090. The funds would be from our ESSER funds. This would be our last year to be able to purchase something like this for the district. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just a curiosity, did we have this program in the past too?
Yes, sir, past 2 years.
That's what I thought.
And I noticed that there's a slight increase this year. Is that just inflation?
Just inflation, yes, ma'am.
Thank goodness for ESSER.
Okay.
Does this connect well to the security systems that we're using to guard our network? Is this to help keep everything at the highest level.
Yes, sir, it is, to help keep everything. This is actually a service as well that they provide us with, so they are monitoring our network. They're making sure that our, any malicious attacks that come about, they're monitoring that as well.
Thank you.
President Fashid and Board, I want to make sure you heard, this is an item that has been funded through ESSER. It does go away with ESSER's not there. However, there are some decisions that we need to be made with regards to this, because we have not invested in a network capacity to support this. And I'm looking straight at Ms. Morris, because I want to make sure that as we're looking and we're moving forward, is we can simply move. We also had Cisco at one time, if you recall, right when we had that little bit of a hiccup with technology. We are now sitting one-to-one here in Nacogdoches Independent School District. That means our teachers are also sitting there one-to-one. Many of our East Texas school partners across this region are one-to-one now. So when you're one-to-one, it doesn't matter how big you are, you have to have the infrastructure to support that, which means you have the technical support, you have the network support. And I will tell you, there is a rubric, there is a formula, and we're nowhere near what we need to have to provide the support for being this one-to-one. The board experienced it before we started today. To the folks out there, we started a little bit late because we had a little technology snafu, and we were able to fix it. We were able to fix it with the expertise of individuals that is their job. And so we want to make sure that, although we're seeing this as an expenditure, we have it this year, we have to evaluate what does this look like for us in the future. Because once again, we talked about previously some things that revolve and transition to us to a new sector. This is one of those. Years ago, we had desktop computers and kids weren't one-to-one, well, going home with their devices. Now they have it. So how do we support that? What are the recommendations that will come from technology? And how is this board going to evaluate what that may look like? So if we don't contract this out with a company that's able to give us a la carte, then how do we find an individual that will add into the department and give us value to support our technology to provide this support for our classroom teachers and all of our students? So you heard this is going away? Yes, it's going away. But the question is, what's going to come in order to enhance and support what technology is doing every single day for our teachers and students?
Dr. Trujillo and Michael, I'm a firm believer that if our district is to stay on top of these ransomwares and all that's happening across the country, we need to be able to have the best IT and the best resources. And I think that that's going to help us in the long run not to end up with problems like we did before. So I strongly believe that we need to have that option.
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Martin. CDW, line-wise.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. If I may direct your attention to page 72 in your book, administration is proposing to purchase LineWise, a comprehensive internet content filtering solution. LineWise offers advanced features, including robust content filtering capabilities and remote screen monitoring functionality for Chromebook devices, empowering teachers with greater control over the students' online activities. Again, the budget impact for LineWise is $48,144.32. Administration is recommending purchasing this with ESSER 3 funds. We'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I'd like to know how that remote screen monitoring works. Like if the kids take their Chromebook home, can the teacher check up on them at home, or she can check it when they come back?
Mr. President, if it's okay with you, I'd like to ask Ms. Morris to come to the podium, please.
That was the same question I had, but I couldn't articulate that.
So During their class period, they're able to log in during that time, and the teacher's able to see.
Yeah.
Now, we're able to see basically I can pull up and tell you exactly what kid is doing at home.
Yeah.
I'm not really able to watch their screen, but it will show me like this kid went to this link at this time. If it was blocked, it shows me it was blocked. If they went in a Google search and typed in a certain word, it's going to flag it, it's going to let us know. But as far as the teachers, when they're in that teacher portal, they're able to pause and make all the students pause and, the internet and look up and see what I'm doing. They're able to chat to the student and say, hey, you need to get back on task.
Okay.
And we have record of, everything that's being said and everything. They're able to, the students can raise their hand if they need help. So it's a whole online portal to where they're able to see more than just their screen. They're able
Okay,
to.
gotcha. Okay, we always had this with desktop, so this is now just because it's
And we had it before,
Chromebooks.
it was with Go Guardian. We're just moving from Go Guardian to this program
this one.
line-wise.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of giving us a whole lot more features that our teachers had been asking for. So this is going to basically just do the same thing, just a lot better.
good, good.
Do they have any devices that indicate or inform you of certain things that goes on? In other words, somebody deviates, goes to sites that they shouldn't, however, you need to know?
Yes,
They inform-
it will block them, and then it will send us notifications, so we're able to know. Then part of this piece is also called Monitor, that we're real excited about. This was an additional piece. It will kind of watch for suicide attempts, looking up dangers that might be coming if they're searching certain things. It will flag, and it will even send a phone call out. An actual live person will look at those and make sure, that if it's that serious, we will contact a person through the phone and let them know that, you might want to reach out to this student. So kind of getting a better hold of what's
Good.
going on with our students online.
Yeah.
So they can go on their iPads, see what the Nike shoes looks like these days?
Yes. Yes, and we can see that they were looking.
One other question, for the classroom part of it, where you're saying that they'll use it for teaching, do you have certain grades that use that more than others? Or is it like K through 12 access, but certain age ranges use that sort of screen monitoring and pausing and hand raising? Is that certain grades, or is it across the board?
It's across the board. It only works on the Chromebooks. We have, Apple has their own program that we use for the iPads. So with the Chromebooks, we're seeing it used more in middle and high school because it's more, they're in the classroom, individual working. Elementary's more group work. So, the teacher may be working with a small group over here while students are online.
Yeah.
But we do kind of show them, you can put that up on the projector, and still be able to walk around and see what's going on.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Martin,
Thank you, Coach Nerman.
next, I guess,
Dr. Hill.
Tipton Ford.
Thank you, sir. Administration is looking to purchase one maintenance truck for Plant Services Department and one van for the Technology Department from Tipton Ford as follows. A 2024 Ford 350 Super Cab for $58,647.28, and a 2024 T150 Cargo Van for $44,339.74, bringing a total budget impact of $102,987.02 from local budgeted funds. Be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Are they gas or diesel operated?
That's a great question, Coach.
The wonderful thing,
Gas.
Gas.
Yeah.
the wonderful thing with either gas or diesel is that this board has made a decision with regards to purchasing our fuel at a pretty good rate that's well below market, so it's going to be a good process for us. So.
Yes, sir, both are gas.
Do we already have the gooseneck that goes with this trailer? This is to haul around big equipment, right? This is for safety purposes, and not just safety of our people, but safety when we pull our stuff through the community.
I believe any vehicle that we have, we follow the specs with regards to what Ralph knows that we have, and then we make the purchase according to what we have and need to have for our, whatever we're hauling, for whether it's an ag program, CTE program, whether it's for technology, whether it's the band. So we've done a really good job of making sure that we have the right equipment to pull the right equipment.
I just had a question. Is there a reason why they're charging $100 to deliver? I mean, on top of everything else, they're charging you to deliver the vehicle?
No particular reason that I'm aware of, but I have heard of people going out buying personal vehicles, paying finder's fees of in excess of $10,000. So 100 is not bad.
That's not really a bad rate, because a relocation fee usually runs about $500 for a vehicle. And if we're purchasing a vehicle and it's down in the Houston area, that means somebody's driving that vehicle up here and delivering it, or they're putting it on a hauler. $100 is not bad for a relocation when it comes to the vehicles that we have. So, but still, anyway.
Anyway, we can save $100, I was just looking.
Well, I look at it as we save $400 because they charge us one. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Ms. Lisa, MSB shares.
Good afternoon again. This is a yearly contract we enter into with MSB, and it's a service they provide where we put in our time for different services we perform for our special needs students, and then we are reimbursed for it. And they charge us 8% of what we earn. And so we estimated it to be $63,520 this year.
When you say what we earn,
Based on what services we provide for students, we are reimbursed for that. So we earn around $600 and something thousand dollars, sometimes $800,000 and $900,000. It just depends on what kind of services we perform each year.
okay, that's clear. Thank you. Dr. Hill, Wickner Corporation.
Good afternoon, President Nurman, board members, Superintendent Trujillo. These are to replace the badly damaged due to the flood instrument storage lockers at the band hall. When we attempted to salvage them because the bottom had been standing in water, the bottoms fell out. So we did attempt to salvage, but unfortunately they're beyond. So we need to order new ones. And the money will come from the insurance.
Thank you.
This is certainly needed to guard those valuable instruments that we have and for the band, but I think this is wonderful that we're going to keep them off the ground and store them to where they're better protected.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And they certainly need the space.
Okay, thank you. Anyone, any more comment or question? Okay, Dr. Corley. Houghton, Mifflin, Harcourt.
Yes, good afternoon, President Nurman, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Trujillo. The first purchase that I'll be speaking to this afternoon is a 3-year subscription renewal for Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. This is our Read 180 and System 44 program that we use for Tier 3 reading intervention. The quote includes the renewal for Stage A elementary, Stage B middle school, and Stage C high school. This 3-year subscription is a total cost of $59,865, and this will be coming from ESSER funds.
My question is, after these ESSER funds are gone, then we have to come up with the money for this in our budget?
Yes, sir. And this has been an instructional resource that we've used prior to ESSER, and usually it's split funded with Title I funds from the campuses.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? Dr. Pearlie, I hear on the news, we call it STEM. Constantly, I hear Longview call it STEAM, so is this correct?
Oh, they're two different things.
They
Oh,
embed
it
the
is?
arts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I got educated. Okay.
So our next purchase, over $25,000, is in Board Book, page 90. This is for our renewal for the SFA STEM Academy. This will be our 10th year of participating in this partnership with SFA and Nacogdoches High School. The cost of this partnership between the two entities include the curriculum for STEM elective courses, supplies and materials, access to the STEM Center, and SFA leadership and support, as well as field trips and utilization of the facilities and laboratories for our students. The total budget cost for this renewal is $120,000, and it will be coming from local funds.
I noticed that our enrollment went down. Is there any real cause that we can put a finger, just different group of kids, different interests sort of thing?
It's that, and then also when we meet with Dr. Redfield and Dr. Childs every year, and we go through the MOU,
Yeah.
and they've been gracious enough in the past, actually in the MOU, it says we'll stick to 30 students, and they've just been gracious in the past to allow us to have additional students, but we have a new STEM 3 and 4 teacher, Miss Arbuckle,
Yeah.
and because of the enormity and complexity of some of the projects that the students are putting forward, it is her recommendation that we do our best to keep it to 30, and you've seen some of the projects that the students
Oh,
have. I mean,
yeah.
I can barely pronounce the words, more or less even understand the conceptual project. So
Mm-hmm.
she has asked us to keep it to 30 if we possibly can.
Okay.
So there,
So that decrease of about 20 kids is because we're,
well, I think in the past, if I'm not and forgive me, I don't have my notes in front of me, I think we've gotten as much as maybe like it starts with the 9th grade cohort, maybe
Yeah.
like 31, 32 students, maybe 33. So we're just attempting to keep it lower. Now, if you're seeing an overall decline in the
Yeah.
119 students, it just could be maybe a scheduling problem, with them wanting to take other things, because this is a significant amount of
Yeah.
time that we're asking the students to give away in their master schedule. It also could be that we may have had some students, drop out.
Okay.
Maybe because of scheduling, or maybe just because of the mere difficulties that they're encountering. I don't know of any of that specifics. These are just the
Sure.
things that I could think of why overall. Plus, I don't remember how many students we had graduate out.
I was wondering that too, yeah, because we seem to have a lot of science-oriented
Yes,
kids.
ma'am.
Dr. Hill, from my own knowledge, what kind of screening does a student gets before they become a member?
Sure. So normally, one of the prerequisites is 8th grade. They have to take algebra in the 8th grade.
Okay.
They also write an essay, and there's also a face-to-face interview.
Okay.
I can just say, and the students that I've talked to, especially ones that have graduated and are in college, and I run into at Blueberry or wherever, it's very interesting, because I stick out, actually, I ran into one in Lowe's the other night, and they have high praise for the STEM program. They felt like that really taught them how to think and how to do. And I think this is a wonderful program that we can interact with the SFA and cooperate on this type of program. We have something other places can't, they don't
That's right.
have this.
It's us and
to this
Lufkin.
level. And so we're very fortunate that we have this relationship, and our students and their families, and also they're sowing seeds for the other students following behind them. And that's wonderful to build STEM into anybody's dreams.
You bet.
So it's a very good investment.
Absolutely. And if I may interject one more thing, because we met with Dr. Redfield and Dr. Childs not too long ago, we're going to meet again with them in October to revisit the MOU for the next school year, because as you've seen, due to inflation, prices have increased. And so the stipends that they're paying their instructors, but she's going to be able to give me a breakdown, a line-by-line item of how the money has been utilized in the past, but I just wanted to let you know, don't be surprised if we don't see this increase a little bit next year when we bring this to you in July.
Okay. Any questions? Any more comments? Dr. Pearlie, Region 7E agreements.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Nirmon. This is located in your board book on page 92, our annual Region 7 E-agreement for 4 components that are over $25,000. We have TEKS resource system, which includes our curriculum management system that our teachers reference for instructional focus documents and vertical alignment documents. And then we have our academic content co-op, which allows our teachers to access a multitude of professional development, both face-to-face and virtually and online, or even in a 2-week course. We have DMAC Solutions, which is our data management system, where we're able to upload our local assessment and state assessment results. This is used across districts, whether it's for response to intervention or accelerated learning plans. It's our one portal that we can see student profiles in. And then finally, our Title I Part A Complete Series. We have our elementary campuses and our middle school campus that are Title I campuses, and this provides professional development for parent and family engagement, as well as teacher support as needed.
To what degree those resources have been utilized or expect to be utilized?
For how long? I'm sorry.
I guess my question was, how often those been utilized, or?
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Corley, if you allow me to interject here.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we're doing with Region 7, which is something I appreciate what they've done. In the past, the superintendent would come up to a meeting at Region 7. They would present us with the e-agreements that they have. Give us packets of paper. And then we would come back with that packets of paper and we would put it in the hands of our directors, and they would go in there and they would select what they see as a value to the district. What I appreciate with our new executive director at Region 7, he's a Region 7 former superintendent. He knows the value that Region 7 provides, but he also knows the value of having a voice. So what I have had the privilege of doing, based on the invitation of Region 7, is inviting the team, inviting the director of bilingual program, the director of special education, the director of curriculum, director of finance, and bring them with me to Region 7, and it becomes a full day of actually our experts sitting with their experts to see and put value on, is this a value to us? And they can make a connection to say, okay, we're doing this and we're working extremely hard to get this done with maybe 1 or 2 people. Well, when we join this group with Region 7, you join not only Region 7, you join the network of all the school districts in the area. And so when you ask to the extent of what we use it, I will tell you, we've kind of refined it so that it's no longer just the superintendent picking and saying, this would be nice for the school district, and then we pay the money, and then we don't utilize it to its full potential. So by bringing our departments, we're able to go in there. So if you're able to dive in there a little bit further on DMAC, you can see there's certain items in DMAC that we did not select. We select DMAC, but in there, our district can go in there and say, these are items that are extremely important to us. These are items that are not related to the work that our teachers are doing. So I applaud the directors for making themselves available, because I intrude on their calendar. We use our Nacogdoches t-shirts and we load up in our vehicles, and we spend a day. Dr. Corley was one of those with us as well. Spend a day to go up there and go through the training. And then as a superintendent, I rely on the expertise of the individuals that are there to make the recommendations. So we want full utilization. We want to be responsible for the resources, financial resources that our taxpayers give us. So we're not buying things just because it sounds good. We're buying things that are going to be utilized by our directors and the folks that are in each one of these departments. By the way, just a side note, DMAC is something that was created by Region 7 and now is statewide. So DMAC is something that our service center is providing services back to West Texas, where I was at. In Region 17, if they want DMAC, they have to communicate to Region 7. So we've got some great experts that are working right here in our service center, and we want to take advantage of that and tell our teachers they've got a great resource for this. And it's not just our directors. There are staff development opportunities for any one of the items that are selected. So if you happen to be a teacher and you're working with this and we're part of the co-op, the teachers can join as a team and travel up to Region 7 and provide themselves with staff development as well. So its utilization is really based on the directors being able to select what we're wanting to use as a district, so.
Yeah. I was just going to say that 100 years ago, when I was in the classroom, some of this stuff was even helpful back then, and I can only imagine how they've improved. So this is well worth the money, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I guess next is Paxton Patterson.
Yes, sir, President Nerman. This purchase is over $25,000 for career exploration labs that will be used at the middle school in an attempt from the CTE department to expand those opportunities down into middle school. We have a new course called General Employability Skills, and these career labs are aligned with career pathways at the high school. So it's not only providing hands-on experience to our students, but it's already preparing them to make a decision at ninth grade registration of what they're interested in and what could possibly, build and turn into a career. This purchase is in the amount of $66,447, and it will be using Title I funds since it's located at the McMichael Middle School.
Where will the labs be?
The labs will be within a course, within
Within their
courses like
technology
classroom.
course?
Yes, ma'am. It'll be 7th and 8th graders. We're looking at enrollment as of right now around 140 students.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Apt, asking questions that I'm thinking, but I can't answer. Okay, great, thank you. I guess next one is Airgas USD.
Yes, sir, thank you. This purchase is for augmented reality welding system. Nacogdoches High School has approximately 100 students in this pathway at the high school, and it will allow students to practice and provide them with feedback as a stimulation, so that when they go to actually do the welding, we're not only saving funds on actual supplies, but it meets safety requirements for students as well. So it gives them that online virtual experience, and then once they reach mastery there, they can proceed forward with the actual welding with metal and other equipment.
Just to jog your memory, our FFA competition for welding won the #1 spot in the state this year in 5A. So what a good investment. And think of all the other kids who are picking up a skill, and they can even do it on the farms or wherever they're at. And so this is, I looked at this and I was going, boy, that seems like expensive, but it's not expensive when you're building a career or expanding your repertoire to know what you want to do with your career. And to have a state #1 finisher, it's funny because I ran into the grandmother of the president of FFA, and I was telling her about that guy winning. She says, well, that's my daughter's boyfriend.
Small town.
So I guess the president of FFA knows how to pick a smart, talented young man.
When you have interest in something, you accomplished a lot. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, next we are hazardous bus routes for the 2023-2024 school year. Mr. Martin, and I know where you're going to pass it to.
Not this time, Coach. I hope not to have to, but I'd appreciate it. President Nerman, board members, Dr. Trujillo, according to district policy CNA legal, the district may apply to the Commissioner of Education for an additional amount up to 10% of its regular transportation allotment to be used for the transportation of students living within 2 miles of the school they attend who would be subject to hazardous traffic conditions if they walk to school. The hazardous traffic condition exists where no walkway is provided and students must walk along or across a freeway or expressway, an underpass, an overpass or bridge, an uncontrolled major traffic artery, an industrial or commercial use area, or another comparable condition. Administration is recommending that the board approve the attached list of hazardous bus routes and adopt the resolution regarding hazardous traffic conditions for the 2023-2024 school year. We'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Some of those routes, I don't know, so I'm not asking questions.
I guess my question is, how do they determine which of these are hazardous? Because they don't have sidewalks, is that correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
That's part of it, yes, sir. If they don't have sidewalks, crosswalks, which many of our neighborhoods, places do not, if they have to cross major intersection, overpass, underpass, any of that, any major traffic artery that if a kid walked, that's within 2 miles of the school, if the kid had to walk to school, that then we can get up to 10% back for transportation costs, if we.
Thank you.
Mr. Montoya, we have two key items that scream out to us pretty quickly is we have a rail system that splits the town almost in half. And then we have a highway that goes right up, Highway 59. However, it will become I-69. So it will be reevaluated. Now you don't have all those exits that we used to have there. So there's a number of things that they'll be looking at. So those two big elements are huge, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that. You can also drive around the corner, take the loop on the backside, and you get to McMichael. There's no community near there, but if you have individuals that have to walk, then how do we provide that transportation for those individuals? So,
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Corley, again, federally funded vendors.
Yes, sir, President Nurimon, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Trujillo. This agenda item is located in your board book on page 106. It is a request for proposals or RFP. Annually, we work with our business office to initiate this request for vendors specifically for professional development, coaching, and consulting. It helps us stay in federal compliance with our EDGAR guidelines if we have expenditures that exceed over $50,000. And so, thank you, Ms. Holly. Ms. Holly has just passed out an updated list that we just recently received. You'll see that there's been a few vendors added. We accept vendors on a quarterly basis because that allows our vendors to have the opportunity or for us to meet the needs as they arise throughout the school year.
So do you feel like this list of vendors is a good list for our district that will provide the services we're wanting and support?
Yes, sir, I do, because many of the vendors that are listed on there have consistently worked with our campuses and provided support for our teachers for several years.
That's important. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is this evaluation out of 100 points? Like, because I just have numbers here. So,
if I'm not mistaken that it is, I would have to go back and look at the rubric that we used. The request for proposal packet is very specific as far as attachments that the vendor is required to submit. I can definitely get that information for you.
We're looking.
Okay.
Also, you may have said this, but I was reading and I couldn't
That's okay.
multi-think. What does SAM stand for? Pending SAM registration? What is that?
President Bushy, may I defer to Ms. Barbara?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Barbara.
I can't remember what it stands for, but it's a governmental entity where you apply and they check whether you've been disbarred from anything.
And since
from-
it's federal funds, they're wanting to make sure
Yes.
these people are kosher. Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lisa, Region 7 Purchasing Cooperative Resolution for 2023-2024.
Good afternoon again. So this is our yearly submission to you to continue participating in the Region 7 Purchasing Cooperative. And the reason we bring it is a resolution is required each year to participate in this purchasing cooperative, which we use extensively.
Okay. Does it require the signature?
Looks like it.
Okay.
Yours and mine.
All right, we are at discussion and action agendas for future. We have 3 items on the discussion and action portion of this agenda today. Is the first reading of TASB Update 121 Local Policies. Mr. Michael Martin.
Thank you, Coach Nerman, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. As you are aware, Board, Texas Association of School Boards Policy Update 121 includes revisions to the policies listed below. Although legal policies are included in the policy manual update from TASB for your review, only local policies are to be considered for your approval. Appropriate department staff have reviewed the TASB revisions and agreed with the changes recommended by TASB. There are approximately 10 local policies. I'd be happy to go through every one if you'd like. This is first reading. It's the board's pleasure.
No, I rather read it myself, so I analyze it to myself, then I ask question.
Okay?
Does board feel the same way? Okay.
Yeah.
You'll find a lot of changes are just semantics and grammar, just adjustment, the comma move from here to there, moving from an initial to a full name, because some folks may not know or do know what Texas Education Agency is or what TEA is. So you'll see a lot of them are just minor changes when it comes to it.
Okay. Next is Mr. Tarvin, consideration of 2023-2024 Student Code of Conduct.
Good afternoon, President Neermond, board members, Superintendent Trujillo. I'm bringing forth to you all our 23-24 Student Code of Conduct. I believe you can find that on page 620 of your board book. For the most part, everything is remaining the same. There are nothing to take out. However, due to some legislation, there are some things to add. So on your action sheet, if you would take a look, placement for mandatory placement in DAP is sells, gives, or delivers to another person or possesses or uses an e-cigarette. Now, what they're saying now is that if we have a student who brings a vape, an e-cigarette, a non-THC vape, that is a mandatory placement in DAP. It also states in there in the law that if any parts of a vape, they now get sent to DAP. So that's going to be a big change. Okay? Another change that we have is when we place a student in DAP, when we give the order, obviously we need to give them their placement order, but we also need to provide to the parent the process for requesting a full individual and initial evaluation of the students for the purposes of special ed services. They need to be sent that paperwork as well. That's new legislation. So if we send a student to DAP, we need to send also the process for requesting a full IEP. Yes, ma'am. So the other section that they talked about and they've added by legislation, and I really think that they figured out with the new vape standard that we're going to be a little busy at DAP, was a DAP at capacity, and it talks about that. If DAP is at capacity, at the time the CBC, which is the Campus Behavior Coordinator, is deciding placement for conduct related to marijuana, THC, an e-cigarette, alcohol, or abusable volatile chemical, the student shall be placed in ISS, then transferred to DAP for the remainder of the period if space becomes available before the expiration of that period of placement. And then it also states if a DAP student, if DAP is at capacity at the time a CBC has decided placement for a student who engaged in violent conduct, a student placed at DAP for conduct related to marijuana, THC, an e-cigarette, alcohol, or an abusable volatile chemical may be placed in ISS to take the position in DAP available for the student who engaged violent conduct. If the position becomes available in DAP before the expiration of the period, the placement for the student removed, then the student shall be returned to DAP for the remainder of the period.
What would be the capacity of the DAC?
15 to 1 is where we're sitting. We cannot go any higher than that. So,
We are in partnership with several other school districts, so when you see this, it is also the expectation of those districts. So you hear 15 to 1, that does not mean 15 Nacogdoches ISD kids. We could be at capacity because of our neighboring school districts that have assigned students as well. We are in the process of coming up with some guidelines so that it's clear and concise as to how that shift will occur. We're also in communication with social workers, counselors, and be working with them because it's not just reactive measures, we also have to be proactive. This is a change in the law, so we're also including Mr. Lineberger in communication. What does communication look like so our kids are aware? What are our principals communicating as they're doing fish camp and visiting with our students? The biggest thing that we're talking about is pieces or parts. And so we want to make sure that all of our students are clear about the expectations that come to this. This is a big communication also to those vendors that are out there. Please stop selling this to minors. Please, whatever we can do to make sure that it's not there. The legislation is making a big deal with this, and rightly so, and we will align ourselves with due diligence to this guideline. So,
I know all of these policies are very, very important. However, there are some that occurs most often. I would educate my students under my care that these are most commonly happens and these are the circumstances. Is there any way we can inform the students that certain things that we feel like is happen most often, educate them that, hey, if you do this, this is the penalty?
we are communicating that with, like I said, through fish camp.
Yes.
Through student orientations. The code of conduct is also when the parent registers their child, they are saying, and this is where it goes to our parents, don't just check that box on registration. That means you know exactly what you're checking, because when you sign it, that's saying you know what the expectations are. So it's not just informing and communicating to our students, but it's also making sure that our parents understand what's there. So a lot of that is going to be addressed through our administration as they're visiting with students and making sure that the kids are aware. Once again, remember, we're looking at trying to become not just reactive with what consequences are, but what proactive measures can we utilize for our students. We have students that last year were caught with a partial vape. Nothing happened to them. So if they feel like last year they got caught with a partial system and they got away with it, well, newsflash. Based on what we've had to update the student code of conduct, this time it is a mandatory DAP placement. But we want to make sure that it's clear with guidelines about if we don't have the space, how are we going to accommodate to meet the needs of the kids that we have. So a big embrace to our administrators as they are going to be in the weeks to come visiting with students and families on their various orientations that they have with students to talk to them about this and other various items that are of importance that they need to know. So,
thank you.
This vaping has gone down to the middle schools and below, and so we're looking at, this is across the board, these are the rules. In looking at this, I'm very interested. Remember, I gave a vaping
Presentation.
Session a couple of years ago, and it's only worse now. But when I went through the glossary, e-cigarettes right there, but the word vaping is not in the glossary. I don't know if there's a reason for that or if there's a need to put that in there, but it's some people don't even, they don't have any awareness at all. So that's something that could be considered. If we don't do it this year, we could look and say, well, we could always just, we want to adopt this and get it going. But we could look at that maybe as adding that as in the glossary for next year.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, it says consideration of voting delegate and alternate for the 2023 for the TASA and TASB Delegate Assembly. I'm not sure if personally I will be in that meetings or not, going to. So Dr. Groman, Mr. Montoya, Ms. Mendico.
Whoever wants to go, they get first choice. I told you that when I went last time.
Okay.
So
Anybody
whoever
is-
wants to go, I can go with them
Yes.
or help them, or we can send 2 new people. I want to keep my hands out of this.
Mr. Montoya, are you going to go to that meeting?
I'll be going, but I'm not. I think one of our newer board members should step up and be a delegate.
Okay. Ms.
Yeah, I've done it before, so, I mean, I'm happy to.
You're happy to be, are you going?
Well, no, to see you.
To pass.
It's not a difficult
I
task.
know, but it's just a matter of being there.
Right.
That's basically what it is. Dr. Groman?
I'm willing to do it, but if you're filling Ms. Knapp, are you interested?
Well, I know I'm down here to attend.
What?
Is this if you're going to the conference, then you do the,
No.
Is this
No,
the
this is
October
different.
one? Is this a different date? I don't have any
Yeah.
This
information
is the
about when this
29th through
is.
October the 1st.
Yeah,
Right.
September 29th.
Yeah. and I'm down to attend that, but I have to change now. I'm not going to be able to
Okay,
attend
okay.
that.
Well, by default, I'll take it, but anybody who wants to be the alternate, it's good to have somebody as a backup, just in case.
Well, this decision, I don't believe, has to be made
We don't
today.
make it today.
No.
We can discuss that and make a
Discuss it.
decision on it.
Okay. I have to look at calendars. I have a deploying spouse and 3 kids, so
But we're going to discuss that in the future. Okay?
I will not make any time commitments.
If I may, President Machida,
Sure.
if any of the board members want to just get more information about this, what does it require?
Right.
What does it allow? Please feel free to reach out to myself or to Holly, and we will be most graciously being able to kind of talk to you about what does it really demand, what does it allow, what's the availability, and that way, when we get to Thursday evening, if that's something that you're interested in doing, then you'll be well-informed with information. So please reach out to one of us, and we'll be able to answer that. If you reach out to me, I'm going to point you to Holly. So you can call me if you
I'll
want.
just cut
Just
you
call.
I'll say hello.
For Holly.
To executive.
Yes.
Okay. At this time, the board will now conduct executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provisions of Texas Open Meeting Act and allowed by Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.078, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any actions the board wishes to take as the result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open session. It's now time 1:10 p.m. We will not be back before, what time?
I take before 2 o'clock.
Before 2 o'clock.
Larissa?
just can't give me a list of numbers and not tell me what they're related to. My brain will spin out. Okay. Oh, are we all back?
Board,
Yes, sir.
do you want the first reading of TASB Update 121 local policies? Do you want to make that as a consent agenda or leave it as discussion?
We have a second reading, don't we?
Yeah, we have to do a second reading, so there's no action really this time.
Call back to order first.
Oh, I'm sorry. We will now return from the executive meeting and reconvene in open session. Time is 2:02. Okay? Now, what's the choice? What do we want to do? Board?
I think this time we can put it on the consent agenda if we have to come, look, we have to speak to it again a month from now.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
true?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
yeah, so if we want to make sure we have a discussion.
Yes, President Fashid, if there's any conversation based on this first reading, then you would not move it. But if you're good with it, you can move it to consent agenda, and then we move into next month. And then in that time, if you've read it and you have questions, you can ask during agenda review.
Right.
Or, once again, you could do the same thing, move it to consent. It's just
Okay.
giving you plenty of opportunity during that, so.
Thank you.
Okay. What's the board's prerogative?
We should move it to consent.
Consent
Yeah, I
agenda.
agree.
Okay. And the next one would be consideration of 2023-2024 student code of conduct, the same. Do you?
Yeah, let's move that to consent.
Consent agenda, okay. And finally, consideration of voting delegate for alternative, that is, we're going to move that to later date.
We'll have more discussion on Thursday.
Consideration of vote alternate for 22-23 TASA and TASB delegate assembly. We said we discussed that later.
So it can't go
I
on
think we can
consent?
still leave it and talk about it on Thursday.
Right.
We
Yeah,
can
we
leave it
can.
right where it is.
Sit in action? Okay.
Okay? With that, I seek the motion for adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
Born is adjourned.
Okay.
I'm sure all in favor.